And now it's time for the Cartoon Connoisseur Theater Podcast. This is Frederick the announcer, who is being handsomely paid in food and is wonderfully eating it right now. And I am here to introduce you to Ubernerd 527. And now here he is, Ubernerd 527.
Hey, Arcaders, it's Ubernerd 527 here once again, and I'm here for the Cartoon Connoisseur Theater Podcast. Welcome! For those of you who have never heard this one before, maybe you're new to the Cartoon Connoisseur Theater, we talk about all things cartoons. We're here for those of you out there who love cartoons and love to talk about them, and we're going to be talking about some cartoons today. Now, usually, the last couple of episodes have been really focused, I guess since the beginning, we've been focusing on movies, not necessarily theatrical movies. We haven't really done a lot of those. So I decided to do a theatrical movie review. And because of this, I wanted to do something a little different. Now, I've done movie reviews in the past. I've done a movie review with Ray on The Electric Circus, with both Pixels and Star Wars The Force Awakens. So I figured it would be kind of a cool idea to do a movie review here on the podcast, and I actually might do these more often as more movies, animated movies, have been coming out recently. Now, obviously, I won't touch on all of them, but I will touch on a few that I'm excited about. And so when I do these reviews, I kind of like to have a partner in crime. I kind of like to have a Judy to my Nick, if you will. So today, for our two reviews that we're going to be doing, I have actually asked my mother, the UberMom, to come here and... What are you doing? Stop. Will you sit down already? Good... Please, I like my mess where it is. Just leave it there. I love the organized chaos. Sit down.
Organized chaos?
Organized chaos.
I don't like those two words together.
Yeah, well, that's the way I like my fortress of nerditude. Anyways, say hello to our audience, please, UberMom.
Hello, audience.
Good. Excellent. So, pretty short and sweet. Okay, so UberMom here has decided to, or actually I forced her to, join us here because we're going to be talking about two movies. We are going to be talking about the Peanuts movie, which just recently came out on DVD, video, and on demand. And we're also going to be talking about a movie that's still in theaters as of the recording of this, and that is, of course, Zootopia. Disney's Zootopia. So we're going to be talking about those today, and we're going to be talking about our thoughts about the movie and our thoughts about both of them. Now we're going to start off with a movie that I was really excited about at first, hearing about it, and I was really wanted to see it in theaters, but unfortunately because I was busy at the time at work, I was not able to go see it, and that of course was the Peanuts movie. Now the Peanuts movie is something very personal to me because I grew up reading the Peanuts comics and I really enjoyed the Peanuts movies that I watched on TV, and I really loved Peanuts. In fact, one of my earliest memories is my parents going to a garage sale and getting me a book of Peanuts comics and me sitting there and actually reading it and just loving every minute of it. Even though these were old comics, I really did enjoy them very, very much. So I really have been waiting very patiently to see this movie, and I know that I had the opportunity to because my mother's birthday was just recently, and she is a huge Peanuts fan as well, which probably has passed on to me. And so I got her the movie for her birthday, and we both watched it, and I think we both liked it a lot. But let's talk about our feelings about this a little bit later on. So, just some fun facts about the Peanuts movie. The Peanuts movie was a film that actually was co-written by Craig and Brian Schultz, who are Charles Schultz's son and grandson, respectively. Now, what did you think about that news when you heard about it?
I thought that was wonderful, and I thought it was reflected in the film.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think it was his style of writing, or do you think that was the kind of style that they used?
It was very close.
Very close.
Very close to the style.
Okay. All right. This was the first Peanuts movie in 35 years.
Wow.
It's been that long. And this commemorates the 65th anniversary of the comic strip as well. Which, even though there's no new comic strips because they ended the run after Charles Schulz had passed... actually, he was retiring and then he passed away not long after. They decided to stop the strip entirely and not make anything new or keep going with it. But they still printed in the comics and the Sunday Funnies. You can still read Peanuts comics, but they're called Peanuts Classics. So they're just reprinting of old Peanuts comics, which is kind of neat. The movie, and just some other fun facts about the movie. The movie grossed $246 million worldwide and got a 97% score on RottenTomatoes.com. And that's a pretty passable movie. It's a B, I guess, if you were grading it. My mom's a teacher, so you know, if it was a B, right? That's a B. Yeah, that's a B. I haven't been to school in a while, so that's a B, right? Yes, B.
Well.
Yeah. Okay.
Teacher's assistant.
Right. Got it. All right. So that's a B, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good. So it's still a passable movie. Now, going into this movie beforehand, and what did you think about this movie? What were your fears about this movie?
Well, of course, that it stays true to the cartoon itself and the characters in the cartoon. I was wondering if it was going to be a flat, I don't know if that's the right terminology for the film, but if it was going to be a flat cartoon,
Right.
or have more dimension
Right.
to it. So that is something that I was concerned about, and those were my concerns when I said they're going to do a Peanuts movie, and I'm thinking, oh, what are they going to do, to this movie?
Okay.
I wasn't, I was hoping that they would stay true
Okay.
to the original movie.
So overall, what did you feel about the movie? Overall.
Oh, it was very well done.
Yeah. Okay.
Very, very well done, and it exceeded my expectations.
Good. All right. Now, my mom is an artist as well as I am, so I love having artists in the podcast with me because I love to ask this question. What did you think of the art style of Peanuts? Because it was very unique from any other CG movie I've seen before.
Yes, I liked it very much.
Right.
When I was growing up, there were vinyl figurines of the Peanut characters.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like I was watching one of those come to life.
Uh-huh.
And so I really, like I said, I was really impressed with the artwork and the 3D effect that it had. I wasn't watching it in 3D, but it had dimension to it.
Right.
And I really enjoyed the dimension and the color.
Right.
And again, sticking with the original cartoon.
Right. What did you like about, because one of the other things I liked about the movie myself was that it was kind of a marriage of 3D animation and 2D animation. There were some scenes where it was 2D animated. It was very that style, even though it still had Charles Schulz kind of squiggly line style that he had. You could tell it was still new animation.
Right.
Right. But what did you think about that? Did you think that took away from the movie? Do you think that enhanced it? What did you think?
I think it added to the nostalgic quality of the movie.
Uh-huh.
The flashbacks.
Right.
That they were having in the movie, and that they would be the cartoon, the original cartoon.
Right. And you saw scenes from like The Great Pumpkin and from the Christmas movie and others as well. And then also some of them were even from the classic strips themselves.
Right.
And then also there were even parts of the movie itself where it almost went that 2D animation, which was kind of neat. So I did enjoy the movie myself. I thought it was a very well done and very to what Charles Schulz would have done. Now, there have been some criticisms about the movie. One of them saying that one of them was complaining about the pop song that they had put in the movie. Now, did you think that pop song took away from the soundtrack?
Not at all.
No.
No, because of course, nostalgic wise, for my generation, it was wonderful.
Right.
But you don't want to be, it's not for my generation.
Right.
The cartoon was for children.
Right.
And so because of that's what they're used to, and that's the music that they're used to, it just brought it all together.
Right. Okay.
Is how I felt about that. I didn't think it wasn't overdone.
Right.
At all.
Okay.
It just brought a little bit of a more today quality. To the film.
Okay. All right. I thought that same way. I didn't think that took away from the movie. I thought it kind of enhanced it a little bit. Mm-hmm. The song was very catchy and it was very to what was happening on the screen. So I don't think it took too much away from it. The other complaint about the movie that I read was that you actually, the little redheaded girl that Charlie Brown is in love with, you never saw her face. You only saw like the back of her head most of the time in the comics. And she never actually talked in the comics or any of the movies. However, and by the way, I just want to start before I say anything. This is going to be spoilers. So if you're not wanting to be spoiled the movie, then don't listen to this next part. But they actually showed the little redheaded girl, her face. They showed they showed how she looked exactly, and they also had her talk for the first time ever. Now, do you think that that's something that Charles Schultz never would have done, or do you think it doesn't really matter?
I don't know if he had that in mind to do at some point in time, but I appreciated it.
Right.
I was so, they started off with just showing the back of her head, and I'm thinking, oh, just show her the front of her. Just show her face. Just show her face. I want to see her face. And when they showed her face, I that was a very exciting moment for me because, I was like hoping, you just want to see her face, hear her talk.
Right.
I want to hear her talk. And that was wonderful, especially at the end. I thought that was wonderful.
Now, out of all the Peanuts movies, one of my favorite Peanut movies is You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Yes.
Which was the one he went and did the spelling bee. Yeah. That was one of my favorite ones. With Linus.
Yes.
And, Snoopy went with him, and Snoopy had that whole scene where he skated in it wasn't Central Park. What was that? Rockefeller Central. Yes. He skated in Rockefeller Central. So that was one of my favorite Peanuts movies going back. I actually enjoyed this very much. I would put it up there with that movie. I really did enjoy the love and care. You can tell that the people that made this movie were fans of Charles Schultz or knew a lot about the style and the way that he told the stories, and the animators had done that previously. Did you feel the same way?
Well, my favorite, of course, was the Christmas special.
Right. Okay.
And then, of course, The Great Pumpkin.
Right.
Charlie Brown. And then, of course, there was a little Valentine, movie. But I grew up myself with The Great Pumpkin and the Christmas special. Mm-hmm. And then later on, I think they did a Thanksgiving special. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's something that it as a lover of Peanuts, I really did enjoy. So let me ask you this question, okay?
Okay.
This movie was. Who would you recommend this movie to? Who would you recommend this movie to?
Well, I would recommend this movie, of course, to children.
Right. Okay.
Because I thought it was a wonderful theme.
Right.
And of course, poor Charlie Brown. Everybody feels sorry for Charlie Brown because he can't do anything right.
Right.
But in this movie, they kind of broadened his character a little bit.
Right.
More. It wasn't just poor Charlie Brown, he can't do anything right, because it was actually Charlie Brown who's being honest.
Right.
Charlie Brown, who's being compassionate
Right.
and caring
Right.
for others.
Right.
So I really like the way that they really went a little bit farther this time with his character. And yeah, he couldn't do things right, but there were things that he actually did right. And I think they brought that out in the end of the movie very, very nicely.
Right.
So then you didn't feel so bad, but you're like, oh, Charlie Brown, poor Charlie Brown,
Right.
And so it was. I thought it was a good. It made you feel good. Because sometimes you just go away thinking, that Lucy just doesn't stop, She doesn't let Charlie Brown off the hook for a minute, And I but yeah, I children need to see more of that kind of a message, I think.
What about
cartoons.
adults? You're an adult.
And adults, well, we need that message as well. But I like the nostalgic part of that, I think.
That was one of the two of the criticisms for the movie, and I want to see if you agree with these or not. One of them was it was too nostalgic, and the other one was that somebody actually hated Charlie Brown because it seemed like he could never win. And
well, then they need to see the movie again.
I agree.
He did win.
I agree.
He did win in this movie.
Now he did this reviewer, whoever it was, did admit that he had never read any of the comics or anything like that previous to watching this movie.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, I grew up with Peanuts. You grew up with Peanuts. These kids nowadays really don't grow up with Peanuts. You don't see, unless they
watch the Christmas special. I think
Right.
the Great Pumpkin's still on.
Right, yeah, they show the Great Pumpkin. They
watch the Christmas special.
Right.
But there's so many to choose from nowadays, the Christmas specials.
They have the Easter special, the Christmas special, and the Thanksgiving special. And I think they have a special for every holiday. In fact, I remember there was a Charlie Brown one, I think for the 4th of July or something, where they reenacted great moments in American history.
American history.
Yeah. I remember the Wright brothers. Charlie Brown was the Wright brothers.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that one. So yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a really great movie. I thought it had a really great message. I thought it was done very well, but not just for me, the person who loves Peanuts, but also for the kids who have never seen it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that blew my mind is, this is a rarity nowadays, G-rated. It's G-rated. So everybody can watch it.
Right.
And it just seems like there are no G-rated movies anymore. I think not necessarily because our society has become, more jaded or whatever, but because I think a lot of times the rating system is a little harsher than it used to be. That's just my opinion. But G-rated movies you used to see them all the time when I was a kid. Now it's every once and again you may see a G-rated movie. But again, I think I really attribute it to the fact that maybe the rating system is a little harsher than it used to be. What do you think? You don't know? Okay, well, that's fine. So, the Peanuts movie, I would highly recommend it to everyone. If you enjoy Peanuts, if you're an adult and you enjoy Peanuts as a kid, you will love this movie. If you're a kid and you've never seen Peanuts before, I think this is a good introduction to the Peanuts characters.
I think it's a wonderful introduction to the Peanuts characters.
Right. I think that also, the other thing that I loved about this Peanuts movie and also all the other Peanuts movies is they actually got kids to voice the characters. Actual real children to voice the characters. And whether they were actually the kids' age or not, I'm not exactly sure. But it made it feel a little bit more authentic as opposed to getting actors or actresses that can just have a kid voice. Now, I'm not bashing voice actors that can do that, because there are some really good voice actors and actresses out there that can do kid voices and it sounds really good. But there's just something about having a kid voice a kid in a cartoon that kind of makes it a little bit more authentic. What do you think?
Yes, I agree, and I think that the voices were very well done.
Right.
From the original.
Uh-huh.
I really didn't. I think Lucy was Lucy.
Right.
You know, I really didn't think, oh, they used another voice for Lucy.
Right.
I didn't have any of those feelings.
Uh-huh.
Or Charlie Brown, oh no.
Yeah.
You know, or even, Snoopy's little, yes. So I just thought that was very well done.
Right.
The voices were
and
good.
the person who did Snoopy also did Woodstock as well,
Okay.
by the way, just so you know. But it's I thought it was very well done. I thought it was a very good movie, and I highly suggest it to all you out there who love that kind of stuff. I highly suggest it to kids. I think as parents, if you let your kids watch this, I don't think you're going to get sick of it. Unless they watch it like 5 or 6 times a day, then maybe you will. But other than that, I think you will enjoy it.
It's a good family movie.
It's a good family movie.
Good family movie.
All right. So now that that's over with, we're done with the Peanuts movie. Let's talk a little bit about the main event, the big part of this podcast, and that is going to be Disney's new movie, Zootopia. Now, for those of you out there who have never seen Zootopia before or haven't seen it yet, first of all, why haven't you seen it? It's been out for a month. Second of all, this is a really... Let me just right out the bat and say I think this is probably one of Disney's best movies since a long time. Original movies, not princess movies or fairy tale movies. I think this is one of their best original movies in a very long time, and so I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to talk about it. So let's get into it. Now, Zootopia took many years because a lot of the planning of just the city itself of Zootopia took forever to plan this whole thing out. So just a little fun facts about Zootopia. So first and foremost, there are 12 different habitats in Zootopia. Each is a district of the city. So you have Tundra Town, you have the Rainforest District, you have the Sahara Sands. You have all these different places in the city that animals need to live. There are some animals that need to live in those specific habitats. But then, of course, you got the core of the city, which is, where everyone blends together. And it's really kind of neat what they thought of. Now, in Zootopia, there are 64 different types of species of animals that live in Zootopia. Which is amazing to think about. They actually counted every single animal species that they used in the movie, from a little bunny rabbit to rhinos to little lemmings to rats and whatnot. They used all kinds of different animals, and each of these animals are the size that they would actually be in real life. So other than the fact that they're actually walking on 2 legs, which means they're anthropomorphic, which means they walk on 2 legs.
Say that again?
Anthropomorphic. It's a big college word.
Anthropomorphic.
Yeah. I'm hoping I'm actually pronouncing that correctly. Anyways, that means they walk on 2 legs. So other than that fact, their actual size. So Judy Hopps is actually the size of a real rabbit. That would be her species. And, Nick Wilde, who's the fox in the movie, is an actual size of fox. And then you got other animals that are actual size. And kind of seeing how they all fit in this is kind of interesting. Now, let's talk a little bit about how well it did in the box office. So by the way, all these box office facts come from boxofficemojo.com, just in case you want to fact check me anyways. So Zootopia made, as of the recording of this podcast, Zootopia made 240,547. Two million 547,409 dollars, and that's just here in America, domestically. Here in America, that's how much it made. That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
All right. However, worldwide, it made $696,747,409 worldwide, and it still has to open in a few other places. In fact, Japan, it's opening on the 23rd of April. So it hasn't even opened all over the world yet. So It's still got a ways to go.
And it just opened.
It just opened about a month ago, so about the beginning of this month, end of last month. Mm-hmm. So that's really good. As far as I know, that's really good for that movie. It is the #1 top March animated openers out of all the animated movies that opened in March. This is the #1 grossing movie, and that's its second and third place are The Lorax, which is based on the Dr. Seuss book, and Ice Age 2. That Ice Age keeps chugging along. They just keep making movies. Yeah. There's a new one coming out.
It's Ice Age what?
5 or 6 or something. Anyways, so it is actually the #2 top grossing movie for Walt Disney Animated Studios. Now, what movie do you think is #1?
Well.
Frozen.
Of course.
Right. So, of course. Oh, gosh. No, don't. I won't. Let it go, Mom. Let it go. So, anyways. Yeah, Frozen is #1, and Zootopia is #2, and that's actually really good as well. They've been doing very well with movies as of late. Disney Animated Studios has been doing a lot of really good stuff ever since John Lasseter had become the head of Walt Disney Animation Studio. I think they've really improved and really grown to be almost the same quality as Pixar. And having the same type of movies that really draw people in and very creative movies. This is the 55th animated feature by Disney Animation. So, and then of course Rotten Tomatoes, their score was 99%. Wow. It got a 99% rating.
Good score.
So
that's an A.
That is an A. That's right. It's not an A+, but it's an A. So let me give a little outline to this movie, just in case you've never seen it before we get into spoilers, okay? So this movie is about a little bunny named Judy, and Judy growed up. Wow, I am English speaking all over the place. Judy grew up in a little like country town called Bunnyboro, and her whole life she dreamed of only one thing. And that thing was, of course, to be a bunny cop. And before Judy, there had been no bunny cops because bunnies are very small, and a lot of the police officers were big or predators or rhinos and all that stuff. So she was the first bunny cop, and she gets to Zootopia and she starts to become a bunny cop, and I think her viewpoint when she first gets there is everything's going to be perfect. My life is going to be amazing. And
she's in awe.
She's in awe of everything that kind of happens. And then reality kind of sinks in. And I think this is really true for all of us. I think that mindset we can all kind of relate to. You go into something thinking, this is going to change my life. I'm going to love every minute of this. How can I hate it? I know with my job, at first, at first I didn't want to do it. And then I was forced to do it. And then I was like, well, I guess I can enjoy this a little bit. And then all of a sudden reality kind of sinks in and you're just like, oh, why am I even here? Not that I'm saying where I work is a bad place. It's just, it's not perfect. It's not that perfect thought that you have when you first start. What do you think about that?
Well, when Judy first goes into the town and she's looking all around from one side of the trail, I don't know what you call the tramway.
Yeah.
To the other side, and she's just in awe of everything. Mm-hmm. And that is like, I can relate it to going to Disney for the first time.
Right.
You're just in awe of everything. There's so much.
Right. There's just so much.
And you just want to do everything and see everything.
Right.
And you're just like, you forget, or you don't even think about the lines that you're going to have to be in.
Or the heat, because we
heat,
live in Florida.
The people running over you with strollers. You don't think about those things.
Right,
you're just focusing on the castle and, smelling the popcorn and the cotton candy. And you're hearing the music, and you don't think about that until, yes, you get in a line that you have to wait an hour, for, or whatever. The reality hits.
Right.
So that feeling I think we've all felt in our lifetime, at one time or another.
Right. And then eventually she bumps into a fox. Now, she was told by her parents. She was warned that foxes are sly and foxes are not trustworthy and above all animals that they listed. That they listed, because they listed a lot of animals.
The rhino. It was about the fox.
So the fox, and she meets this fox, and the fox's name is Nick. And Nick, you find out, is kind of like this slick con man. Lovable, slick con man. I would put him up to the level of like Grunkle Stan from Gravity Falls. That kind of, he does these outlandish plans and sometimes very, very intelligent things. But you know that he's just there for the money, and he's just there to he'll swindle his own mother sometimes just to get some money.
I don't think that he was that cruel. I don't know. He was lovable. He was lovable. I mean, he did it to survive.
Right, he did it to survive.
And I think it was ingenious.
Right.
But his little scheme
was ingenious.
That he was running, I thought it was pretty ingenious. I mean, his little sidekick he had there at first,
That little Finnick fox,
Yeah. Used as a baby. I thought that was pretty funny, and then,
But, eventually what happens, the two of them get intertwined, and they have this case to solve, and, you find out there's a lot of prejudice going on in the town, and there's just kind of a dark side to this Zootopia that you don't really see on that surface, and that's what this story is all about. Now, before we get into the message of the movie and whatnot, let's go into some questions that I have for you. Okay, so I picked these questions at random. So my first question is, what were your expectations before going to the movie? Did you see posters? Did you watch any trailers? What was your expectations?
Well, I did not see any posters or any trailers.
Okay.
I don't have a TV in my home. I know that you don't. Viewers might be shocked that I don't watch TV.
Okay.
I live in a rural area in Tennessee, and we don't have high speed, or anything. So I was not
electricity or
no. We have candles.
They have horse-drawn carriages and.
I could only wish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I did not see any trailers or any commercials or anything for it. The way that I heard about the movie first was through my students.
Right.
And they were coming in the first weekend that it was released in our little town. And they were all excited about this movie.
Right.
And they're all going on, I got to see this movie again. Oh, you just love this movie. And they loved the little animals in the movie, and they thought it was so funny. And then I talked to some adults that had seen the movie, and they loved the movie.
Right.
And they just loved the good, clean adult humor that was in it.
Right.
And they were even, they were saying the lines over again, which is to me, is a good sign of a good movie.
This is a hustle,
when
sweetheart.
people, when people say different lines in a movie that they've seen one time, and people know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so that's a good, water cooler kind of stuff, talking about it, and they really enjoyed it very much. So I was like, okay. And then you invited me to see the movie, and then invited me to be on this podcast, which I'm very excited about.
Cool.
Sharing this with you.
All right.
But,
So this seems to be a trend, though, especially more so now in cartoons on TV and even a lot of movies. But it's not something new to movies, to animated movies, because this is, I mean, going all the way back to movies like Little Mermaid and Aladdin had a lot of adult humor that, good, clean adult humor, like you said, that went over kids' heads, but adults got it right away. And I think that even TV now is starting to pick up on this, and there's some trends now with TV that a lot of TV cartoons are starting to do this too, because I think that people who make these TV shows now understand that the parents are going to have to forced to watch these cartoons, and if they're going to be forced to watch these cartoons, they may as well entertain the adults as well as the children. I know a couple examples of some cartoons like that would be like My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. Gravity Falls is a really good example of that. Even to a more extent, Star Wars Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels. Very much for kids. However, at the same time, adults love it. Heck, even, and you're going to groan when I say this, but even the new Ninja Turtles cartoon is...
Well, the Ninja Turtles...
Yeah.
That you watched.
Right, yeah.
You had adult humor in it.
Right, and it now is even more so because now the kids who grew up with those Ninja Turtles are now having kids, and it's actually kind of fun to see, the parents with a Ninja Turtle shirt on, their little kid with a Ninja Turtle shirt on, parents wearing a bandana over their head with like little play swords, and like the little kid wearing like a little turtle shell and like a little bandana on. It's kind of neat to see that, and I think this is a trend that is starting to go into cartoons. A lot of cartoons now, heck, even preschool cartoons, they've started to do this now, where they made it entertaining for adults as well as children, and I kind of like that. I kind of like this trend that's been going on lately, and seeing like movies like Aladdin, and Robin Williams filled that movie with jokes all over the place.
Robin Williams made that movie.
He
made
did.
Aladdin come to life.
Right.
That was wonderfully done.
I remember, that's definitely one of my favorites.
Those were ones, you said those lines over and over again. And I watched that movie so many times that I knew the lines over and over again.
True.
And that was our family.
Right. I think another one would probably be, yeah, it was.
Yeah, we always said the lines.
I think another one would be Lion King. I think was another...
Lion King, yes, where you repeated the lines. Even
to this day, you still use a lot of those lines. I know that, we still use a lot of the lines at work and whatnot. I know, working at Disney, though, you can't help but do the lines sometimes. So that kids... Oh, man, you should see kids' faces when I do the fist bump from Big Hero 6 to little kids. They're like, oh, you know that? I'm like, yeah, totally. It's something really cool, and I like it. Now, let's move back to Zootopia, because we went on a little tangent here. So, what did you think about the city? Now, we already talked a little bit about it, but Zootopia is such an imaginative city. What did you think about it when you saw it? Did you think the same thing? Did you think it was planned out very well, or what did you think?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was planned out very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
I loved, of course, the different habitats.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I loved how they brought that out.
Right.
They're separate.
Right.
And the animals live separately in these little habitats, but then you go into the central part of the city, and they're all over the place.
Right.
Even the little rodents. Have the little cars.
Right.
In the middle of the city.
Right.
So I thought that yeah, I liked.
You liked how that was done. They've planned they worked so long and so hard on that city, and they even got actual engineers to come in and say, this is what we want to do, how would it work? If you had infinite amount of money and you could do this, how would it work? And they actually said, okay, you know, like one of the things that you saw in the movie was Sahara Square, which is the name of it now I remember. Sahara Square is right next to Tundra Town. So you have heaters right next to the cool that makes Tundra Town. And they actually talked to engineers and actually figured out a way to actually make this work. And so that's how it kind of works in that city. So I thought it was really cool. I think you can't really see this movie once and see everything. I think you have to see it a couple of times. And it's going to be interesting when this comes out for public viewing, you know, with, you know, DVD and video and Blu-ray and Netflix and Hulu and all the other places you'll be able to see this.
Right.
I think we're going to get a lot of freeze frames. I think we're going to get a lot of people just stopping the movie and finding things that we've never seen before. I think that's going to be very exciting, and I am hoping, and this is something that actually came from my friends at my pod friends at Skywalking Through Neverland. One of the things I really hope is they have like a part of the DVD that you can kind of just sit and make your TV look like a window, that you're like looking out into the city. That would be absolutely awesome. I would have that all the time, just sitting there on my TV. I mean, because like movies like Finding Dory, you could turn your TV into like a Finding Nemo. Sorry, Finding Dory's coming out soon. Finding Nemo, you could turn your TV into like a little aquarium, and you have all the characters kind of swim by.
Oh yeah.
I would love to just turn my TV into like a little window to Zootopia. You know,
I might have to get a TV then.
Yeah, you might have to eventually. Anyways, so, but I think that's the biggest part of this movie. Now, here's the question for you, okay?
Yeah.
So, if you lived in the Zootopia world, okay,
I'm in Zootopia.
you're a little animal in Zootopia, where would you live?
If I'm little.
Right. Okay.
Of course, I would live in
A little Rodentia.
If I was little.
I didn't mean little like that, but I mean, if you were an animal.
And I was, I think that I would like to live in the rainforest.
Live in the rainforest?
Definitely, not the desert. And definitely not the rotunda.
Okay,
That's
the tundra?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
gosh,
tundra.
not the tundra. Oh, boy.
Not the tundra.
Yeah.
Yes. No. So I would have to live in the rainforest.
Okay, so outside of the city, in the world, where would you live?
Oh, by all means, you know what I'm going to say.
Okay, where would you live? You would live in Bunnyboro, wouldn't you?
Bunnyboro.
Now, why would you live in Bunnyboro?
Well, because I live in Tennessee.
Because you live in Bunnyboro.
I don't have to wish to live there because I live there. It's beautiful. Yeah. They have the rolling hills in the background and the farm. And
you don't have to think. You already know.
No, I know. Yeah, I'm there. So, yeah, that was, I think they did a really nice job.
I think probably I would live in the central hub. However, I probably would also live, if I couldn't live in the central hub, I'd probably live in the rainforest area. I kind of like that, and maybe every once in a while I go to the Sahara Square and go in the desert, because the desert's always fascinated me. So I would kind of like to at least visit that every once and again. But not stay there, because I'm sure it's like bleeding hot there. So, but I would not go to Tundra Town ever.
No.
Never Tundra Town. Never.
Maybe for a little visit.
No, never visits. That's cold.
You've never seen snow.
Well, I've never seen snow, but I know it's cold. So therefore I would not go there.
No.
But all right. So, who was your favorite character in the movie?
Well, of course.
Judy Hopps, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah. Of course, Judy.
Right?
She's my favorite character.
Why do you like Judy? Why do you think Judy is?
She has the can-do attitude.
She has the What does that mean? A can-do attitude.
She is determined to fulfill her dream.
Right.
No matter how, far out it is.
Right. Okay.
And I just love that she pursues it, and she's has determination. She doesn't let anybody stop her
right.
from doing it.
Right. And you also, one of the things you said when we were coming out of the theaters, you like that she's also very positive too. She's a very positive
very
thinker.
positive.
Right?
I loved the part where she was told she had to be the meter maid,
Right.
and she just looked like meter maid.
Right.
I don't want to be a meter maid, and I thought her reaction to it was wonderful. Instead of just saying, they made me a meter maid, and being depressed about it or upset about it or grumpy about it, like I'm not going to be a meter maid, and just really get down about it. She was like, okay, if I'm a meter maid, I'm not just going to give 100 tickets
in a day
before noon.
Right. Well, 100 tickets in a day.
Right. I'm going to do it before noon, and I'm not just going to do 100. I'm going to do 200.
Right.
So it was like, okay, you got me down, but I am not going to stay there for 1 minute. I'm going to prove myself to be worthy.
Right.
And I'm going to still go after my dream, more or less. Mm-hmm. So even though she got shot down, she got back up there real quick.
Right.
And she did it. Right. She fulfilled it. She went out there and they made her, do it.
Right.
She got her 200 tickets before noon.
Right. And I enjoy Judy as well. Judy is also voiced by one of my favorite actresses from a show that I absolutely love, which is Once Upon a Time. She plays Snow White in that, and she also has kind of the same attitude as well, although I think she's a little more serious in Once Upon a Time than she is as Judy. But she is played so well by Jennifer Goodwin, and she's just everything that worked with that character. I think her facial expressions were almost perfect. You could see what she was thinking. I loved just the look of her. You kind of sometimes during that movie, you kind of just wanted to just grab her and pet her.
I know, it really did.
She's like, it's okay, it's all right. You can be all right.
Crying there for a little while, trying to get Nick to help her.
Yeah, and I just enjoyed that character so much, and I loved the fact that she also was very positive, and in this kind of storm of negativity that was surrounding her, she was like, I'm just going to be positive. I'm just going to do my thing. My job, my dream is to be a cop, and I'm going to be a cop. Uh-huh. But at the same time, she had her bad days, and she had, the days when she was hitting her head on the steering wheel going, I am a real cop, I am a real cop. Because I've had those days myself where I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm going to get out of here eventually. I've had those days too, and I think she was a very relatable character. Now, my other favorite character, I actually have a tie between my favorite characters. Judy being one of my favorites, the other one being Nick. I love Nick, played by Jason Bateman. He did such a good job voicing Nick. Mm-hmm. And I think Nick was kind of the opposite of Judy. And at the same time, he was a lovable character. I think from the moment you saw him on screen, you're just like, oh, he's kind of cool. He's kind of a cool guy. Like you said, he had an absolutely brilliant plan,
so he was a sly fox, but he was a smart sly fox.
Right. Yeah, so, yeah. And he knew the town. He knew how it all worked. But I think, though, the big difference between the two of them was, whereas Judy was like, I'm not going to let this get me down, Nick was like, all right, you want to stereotype me? Fine, I'll play the stereotype. Mm-hmm. You want to call me a sly fox. You want to make sure you want me
live like
that I'm going to
live
like a sly fox, and that's how I'm going to live. And I think, though, because originally Nick was actually supposed to be the main character, and then Judy was supposed to come in later. Mm-hmm. But I think, though, the fact that Judy is the main character and we follow her through most of it, I think it makes Nick even more of his backstory even more sad, because you see a predator picking on prey when she's a kid, but then you go fast forward, when you get to see Nick's backstory, you get to see prey picking on a predator. Mm-hmm. So you get to see both sides of this. Right. And I think it even makes Nick's backstory even sadder, because what you see at the beginning of the movie. And I really did enjoy that, and I enjoyed Nick so much. You know, and
it was a
they
good
just
fit
it was
together.
good. Yeah, they were a good fit together, and you know, they played off each other very well.
Yes.
And I just enjoyed both characters very, very much.
You couldn't have one without the other.
Right. And
I mean,
this was a buddy cop movie. And for those of you not up on that term, Mom, a buddy cop movie is a movie where you have two people who shouldn't work together or wouldn't work together, working together.
Well, that's just a typical theme.
Right. Classic buddy cop movies would be like Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
Which was referenced.
In the movie.
In the movie.
Another one would be Rush Hour with Jackie Chan. You know, or another Jackie Chan one would be Shanghai Noon with him and Owen Wilson. You know, those are buddy cop movies. Mm-hmm. You know, you have two people who are like the odd couple. You know,
right.
They're like oil and water, but they work very well together. And sometimes they start off as, you know, two people who have to work together.
They have to work together to accomplish a goal.
And then sometimes they may be enemies at first, and then they become friends later on. Sometimes they, you know, start off as friends and then kind of falling out and then coming back. You know, it's a buddy cop movie, or in this case, I would call it a bunny cop movie.
Yeah, I like it.
Anyways, so we talked a little bit about the main characters. Let's talk a little bit about secondary characters. Characters that you might see in the background or are just not necessarily our main characters. Mm-hmm. So, who are your favorite ancillary characters or secondary characters?
Oh, most definitely the Godfather. Okay, he was wonderful. I liked him.
I loved that character so much.
For one, it was a surprise.
Right, Mr. Big is the
Big,
mob boss,
and that was a surprise.
The fact that his whole character is a reference to the actual Godfather movies, and the fact that he actually says lines from the actual movie, which my favorite was the one where he goes, "You come here on the day of my daughter's wedding." Actually, we were forced here. So I thought that was just hilarious. So, you know, he was such a great character. And then him actually starting off being a bad guy and then becoming a good guy later, I thought that was just kind of interesting. You know, his daughter.
Mm-hmm. His daughter really added to it. And,
you know, Judy becoming his goddaughter. You know, and then, you know, later on his daughter, you know, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna name him Judy right after you," and she's like, "Aw," you know. That was hilarious. I also loved Chief Bongo, who was the water buffalo, the African water buffalo. Now, the funny thing about this I learned was that they picked that species of animal specifically because when they went to Africa, they were told by all the locals that they were the meanest animals on the African plain, like even meaner than like lions. You know, that they were mean and they were nasty, and you did not want to mess with those things. And they came back and said, we've got to use this as the chief. And I agree. They picked a perfect animal because he was a no nonsense, like he was intimidating at times. You know, you were actually kind of intimidated watching this.
Yes, when he'd say, "That's the way it is. I don't care." Right.
You know, so you know, I think that was another character that I enjoyed a lot was Chief Bongo. Mm-hmm. One honorable mention I want to throw out though is one of the characters in the movie, which has become kind of a running gag now for Disney. Pixar had this thing where they had a character, a guy. All I can remember is that I can't remember his name. I think John Ratzenberg. His name, John Ratzenberg. He was in Cheers, and he played Ham in Toy Story. And ever since Toy Story, he's been in every Pixar movie ever since. He's been some character. Sometimes a major character, sometimes minor character, sometimes a background character, but he's always been in one of those movies. And, this also is in Marvel movies. If you've seen the Marvel movies, Stan Lee always makes a cameo. And pretty much every single Marvel movie that Disney has done with Marvel, he's been in some scene in the movie. And I think that Disney is kind of picking this up too, getting their own kind of good luck charm, if you will, with an actor. His name is Alan Tudyk. And Alan Tudyk played a character in one of my favorite TV shows, which was Firefly. And he played Wash in Firefly. He played the pilot. And I love that character. He was the guy that was like, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. We had the little toy dinosaurs. He's like, we have come to this land and we'll call it this land. I really did enjoy him in Firefly. And then to find out later on that he's become this kind of... he's becoming this kind of good luck charm they put in every single Disney movie for a while now is actually kind of fun as well. I believe it started with Wreck-It Ralph because he played King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph. And then he moved on to Frozen. He played the Duke of Weselton, which we'll talk a little bit about in a second. And then after that, he played one of the villains in Big Hero 6. He played the major villain in Big Hero 6. So he's always, for some reason, he's always played a villain in these movies. So King Candy was a surprise, because when I found out it was him doing that, I was shocked, because he's a really good character voice actor. He does really good job, and I was even shocked to see him in Transformers, when he did the Russian accent in the second Transformers movie. Which I thought was interesting to see him in that. But anyways, I want to give a honorable mention to his character in Zootopia, which was a character by the name of Duke Weaselton, who was a weasel, obviously. But his whole name is a reference to the Duke of Weselton from Frozen.
The skinny little guy.
Yeah, the skinny little guy, because everyone kept calling him the Duke of Weaseltown. Yeah. But he kept on correcting everyone, saying, no, it's Weselton. And, now he plays Duke Weaselton, who is an actual weasel. And so I just thought that was just a hilarious callback to, and also... I think I probably was the only person in the theater who kind of laughed when he came on screen, and just like, I get the joke, and it's just a little hidden gem. So I liked his character as well. He was the traditional, skinny thief that runs away and you're trying to catch him. He's just, he was selling bootleg DVDs of Disney movies. And apparently a few that haven't come out yet. Which one of them was actually a Disney movie that's coming out soon, so that'll be fun. But anyways, to see that. But I did like that. I did like that they're hitting. I'm hoping with all the other ancillary movies that he gets hidden in those as well, and it's kind of fun to find them. So all right, so let's move on to your favorite scene of the movie. What was your favorite scene of the movie?
Well, I think the chase scene,
okay,
where they go through, the city, and then they go into the
Little Rodentia.
Yeah, Little Rodentia. Thank you.
Which is actually supposed to be designed after Brooklyn.
Okay.
Which actually makes it even funnier if you think about it.
Yeah. So I think that was a good scene.
Right.
But I think the all-time favorite scene.
Right.
Was the DMV. That was wonderful.
I actually saw that because they put that whole scene as the trailer for Zootopia, and I kind of wish they didn't, because I kind of would have wanted to be surprised.
Yes.
You didn't see the trailer, so this was a complete surprise to you?
Well, it wasn't a complete surprise because, a friend of mine had told me about it, and they thought that was the funniest part of the movie.
Right, okay.
So they had told me about that. that part, so I knew it was coming up. So yeah, but I'm like you. I wish I had been surprised, but even though I knew it was coming up, I thought it was hilarious. And then you could hear
all
the adults,
all the adults
laughing in the theater. So that was wonderful.
Yeah, it was such a
part, and it was so true.
It was so true.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. We've all been there. So I think that if I wouldn't have seen it, it probably would have been my favorite scene in the movie. But because I've already seen it before, I actually think though at the same time, because of that scene, that's what really got me excited for this movie. Because I didn't understand when the trailer originally came out. It was Nick Wilde, and he was kind of explaining what Zootopia was to you. He was explaining how animals had wear clothes, there were no humans, how this world kind of worked. And when I saw it, I was just like, I don't know. But not that it was a bad introduction, because it was kind of funny, but it wasn't enough to get me excited to see the movie. But then when I saw that sloth scene, I was like, okay, I get it now. So I kind of think it was a bad and good thing all at the same time, because yes, if I didn't see that in the trailer, it would have been probably even more funny when I actually saw it in the movie. But at the same time, it got me excited and kind of made me understand the movie a little bit better. And I think also, going back to the whole art thing, I think also the facial expressions on the characters are just so wonderful.
And you see it really good in that scene.
You see it really good in that scene.
Slow expressions.
when
he starts
Nick,
laughing.
Right, when Nick does the joke and he just slowly gets that smile, yeah.
And then you see Nick's face, like anticipation. He knows what he's done, and he's like,
I got you back, yeah. And then
the little rabbit's just like,
Judy is just absolutely livid. And I think also because I had seen that scene before, I think I was in the same mindset as Judy too. Of like, all right, we get it now. I've already seen this in the trailer. Let's move on now. So I think that was also another really funny thing about it is you actually felt her anger and her frustration, because you saw it not only in her face. You could just see from her face that this was so frustrating. Just move on already,
Well, she only had so much time.
I know, right? But I think that was probably one of the best scenes in the movie as well. I also kind of liked the more heartfelt and serious parts of the movie. I think that when it got serious, I think it really shined. I think two of the parts that probably shined the best were the scene where Nick kind of has like a confession to Judy of where he's been and why he's acting the way he is. And I think the other one is where Judy kind of apologizes and asks for forgiveness. And I think both of those scenes were done so well in the animation, in just the scene itself, how pretty both those scenes looked, and it just I know that you were tearing up when when Judy was crying. I can see tears in your eyes too.
Poor Bunny, he's gonna be okay.
So, but also I think at times I think the movie could get scary at times too. I think the whole jaguar chase.
That was
through the
scary.
rainforest.
You didn't expect it.
Right, and when you saw the jaguar's eyes just turn, and
that quick.
Right, and then he goes, you see Judy goes run, and they both dart, and the jaguar goes right after them. I think that was, if they hadn't cut that and went to Clawhauser, talking about his app and, showing the app off to that that felon, I think that scene would have been really kind of scary for kids if they would have left that alone.
Right.
And I'm glad that they actually cut it a little bit, and also gave it a reason for the cops to be there later on.
Right.
But I'm glad that they made it a little bit funny, so it kind of broke up that scene a little bit. Now here's my question. Here's another question. I don't have it on the list here, but I want to ask because this just came Now, do you think one of the complaints I've heard about this movie is online is that it deals with some darker themes, like racism, it even talks about drugs almost.
Mm-hmm.
You see like a drug, you see almost like a drug lab.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, for those of you who know what this is, they do a Breaking Bad reference. Now, I've actually not seen the show Breaking Bad. I've never watched it, and I don't even really plan to. But they make a Breaking Bad reference.
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah. But, so this kind of disconcerted a couple of parents. Now, do you think that this movie was a darker Disney movie, or do you think that it had a perfect tone for the movie?
I think it had a perfect tone for the movie. I didn't see it as being dark. Again, it's supposed to be this perfect society, but it's not.
Right.
And it's like it's a reality. It's our lives. Our lives, it should be a certain way, but it's not. In life, there are stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
In life, there's prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
In life, you have to deal with. I think it just didn't hit on just one type of prejudice, being different species of animals, but also whether you're big or whether you're small.
Right.
It hit on that fact, whether, so I really, I did not feel that it was dark. Of course, it did hit, that's what I thought about drugs and stuff like that. It's here. It's
right,
reality.
Right.
It's life.
So do you think
that we have to deal with that kind of thing?
Right.
Unfortunately.
Do you think that's another thing that goes over kids' heads, or do you think that?
I think that would have gone over.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think that went over. I don't think it was so deep and so dark. The way they portrayed it, I felt it was just right.
Mm.
I've seen others where I think that they've gone a little too far.
Right.
On when I used to watch TV.
All right. So let's talk about the messages of this movie. We've already talked about how. One of the things I loved about this movie was like there were different layers to this movie.
Yes.
You had
different themes.
You had a traditional anthropomorphic animal movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also had a Disney movie on top of that, which they did make reference to in the thing in the movie. This is not like a cartoon that you go around and sing a happy song and all your dreams magically come true. It also was a movie where there was a mystery to it. There was kind of a whole mystery, very good mystery to it, and
very well done. Surprise.
Right, a very good surprise.
Because I'm a mystery lover, and I just like to try to figure it all.
Right.
Who done it? Kind of thing.
And I really, we're not going to spoil the twist.
No.
We've spoiled a few things already, but we're not going to spoil the twist. And I didn't see it coming.
No.
I really did not see it coming.
I did not see it coming.
They hit it very well.
They did it very well.
And I tried even seeing it the second time. I tried to even see clues that they may have put early in the movie, and I couldn't really pick anything really that kind of pointed to it. Now I saw things earlier in the movie that pointed to other things in the movie.
Yeah.
Like the blueberries, if you know what we're talking about. I didn't notice it the first showing when I went around, but the second time I noticed, they're setting up the blueberry thing really far or earlier in the movie, and other things I saw in the movie, but this I thought was a complete twist. I just didn't see coming, and I thought that this was a good mystery movie, and I thought it was kind of one to wrap your head around and kind of see how all that works. So
that's why you got to see it second time around.
You got to see it a second time.
Yeah, so you can try to figure it out. But I don't know. Like you're saying, you saw it the second time, and still did not find
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Any clues to lead up to the twist.
We talked a little bit about the messages of the movie. Mm-hmm. Now, I really truly believe there are two messages in this movie. So, one message is, of course, trying. In fact, they wrote a whole song by Shakira about it.
Which I thought went very well.
Which in the movie,
one of the themes of the movie.
Right,
yeah.
and in the movie, her name was Gazelle.
Uh-huh.
She was a gazelle.
Graceful gazelle.
Very graceful gazelle.
A graceful gazelle.
So
dancing tigers.
with dancing tigers.
That's funny.
Trying as hard as you can, and not giving up. Even though you're gonna fail every once in a while. I thought that was a really good message to this movie. Now, the other message, of course, we already talked about, which was discrimination. Do you think that this movie was preachy? Do you think that you were slapped over the head with it?
No. I liked the farm scene, back at the farm scene with the parents, warn her about going off
Right.
to the city and what, she should be
Aware of.
Right. Especially the fox.
Right.
And they give, good reason for it.
Right.
In their family history, they give good reason, and she has good reason to be wary of a fox.
Right.
Because that's who she encountered as a bully. So,
It's kind of just a wonderful message to give to people that
no, so I didn't think it was preachy.
Right.
But, but they, and who does she meet?
Right, she meets a
And
fox.
becomes
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah,
the best friend.
Right.
Her best friend
Right.
is a fox.
Right.
So I thought that was all well put together.
Right. I agree as well. I think that was, like I said, I think that was a really good part of the story. It was being preachy, but at the same, it was showing something that we have, that is very much in our society nowadays.
Right.
With people, doing things and people being scared of people who are different because of other people who are doing these things, and I think one of my friend Sayaku said that, this is a very good movie for the times.
Right.
And I agree. I truly agree. And I think a lot of the classic Disney movies actually kind of show the sign of the times a little bit, where they were. And, I think that's also shows a classic movie. I mean, you go back and watch Warner Brothers cartoons and, that shows the times. I know that a lot of time, for a while, Warner Brothers was actually censoring some of it because they thought it was offensive or whatever. But now they actually have a warning at the very beginning saying we're not censoring this because this is what the time of the this was made at a specific time in history, and this is exactly the way that those that was okay in society then, and it's not okay now, but we don't want to change that cartoon, so we're bringing it out. So I think that's a really good, because it's something that a lot of people, a lot of adults as well as kids need to understand, is that we're all going to have differences, but I think if we focus more on what we have similar, we all have problems. We all have pain and heartache that's happened. We all have things that have happened in our lives. I think, if we focus more on that stuff and less on what we look like or, who's better at what and who's the top at that and who's this and who's that, I think it would make a better world. And I think that's kind of what this movie is saying, is that we need to, not just look on the outside. It's the person, not just, their outside appearance or their DNA. their DNA.
Yeah.
Their DNA. So I think that was a good message for this movie. I also, one of the things I wanted to bring up real quick, just really, really quickly touch on also, is that there's no romantic component in this movie as well. That it's a platonic relationship.
Right.
And I thought that was kind of neat as well, that there's no romantic, although there are people online that have already seen things where things shouldn't be. But of course it's the internet, so there are people out there that are relationshiping, or what we call shipping, In case you didn't know, Mom,
No,
or
I didn't
that
know
you're
that.
listening,
Thank you.
it's called
I
shipping.
appreciate that.
But I kind of like the fact that there was no romantic. But however, he does. Nick does say, "You know, you love me," and she says, "Yeah, I do," and you didn't feel that was well, at least to me, I didn't feel that was a romantic kind of love.
No,
it was more of
friendship.
friendship kind of love.
Yeah.
So I kind of enjoyed that too, because there's just so many. Usually when you see a boy and a girl in a movie, usually they fall in love, because that's that's the way things are. And I don't mind romantic things. I like a lot of stuff with romantic. I hate to admit it, but I like a lot of stuff with romantic elements in it. But every once in a while, it's kind of nice to have something where that's not thrown in your face or anything like that. So I kind of enjoyed that. All right. So we're winding down now. We're winding down. So, in your list of favorite Disney movies, where would you place this movie? Where would you place Zootopia?
Well, can I back up for 1 minute?
Okay, can you back up for a minute? Okay, go ahead.
Because talking about the theme,
right,
going back to the theme a little bit, I thought that it was very important to bring out, yes, it's a theme about achieving your dreams.
Right.
Or,
right.
Being able to achieve your dreams and being persistent in that. But I also liked the way that her parents, even though they did not agree with her as
right.
what her dream ought to be.
Right.
They wanted her to be a carrot farmer.
Right.
But they told her, everybody can have a dream.
Right.
But
you gotta settle sometimes.
But sometimes you have to settle. And there they were, but they weren't unhappy about that.
Right, okay.
Oh, we had to settle.
Right.
So they were happy settling.
Right.
It wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah, they didn't feel, they weren't resenting it. You can tell that they kind of wish that they had.
Just for a second.
For a second.
They had this little moment,
Right.
But they were happy. They
right.
were perfectly happy, and they felt that she would be happy.
Right.
Or doing what they're doing.
But they still let her do it.
But they still supported her.
Right.
In it.
Right.
So I thought that was a good message.
Right.
Okay. For young people and
parents.
Adults.
Yeah.
Parents. Yeah. Parents. So I really like that. But to this whole movie.
Right. Where would you place it on your list of
5.
favorite Disney? One of your top 5?
Top 5.
Awesome.
One of my favorite Disney movies, older Disney movies, is The Fox and the Hound.
Mm-hmm. That was my father's favorite as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, I guess my most recent would be Frozen.
Right.
And then I think Aladdin.
And
The Lion King.
Right.
Not exactly in those orders, but
right.
I really enjoyed those movies.
I can't really place my favorite Disney movie. I can't really tell you this is my number one. This is the movie that I love the most.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that this movie is definitely in the top 5. Mm-hmm. Like especially recently, like movies like Wreck-It Ralph, which I love it, but I think I'm a little biased when it comes to Wreck-It Ralph because it was about video games. Mm-hmm. But taking that away, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it had a good message, and it was very emotional and very, it was a wonderfully made movie, and I think it's kind of sad that it's almost passed over because Frozen was the next movie afterwards, and Frozen kind of came out, and it just kind of took over the world. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, though, that this isn't any different from The Lion King. When The Lion King came out, The Lion King was all over the place.
Yes.
Everywhere you went, there was Lion King all over the place. So this is not any different. Mm-hmm. So I would have to say Frozen is definitely one of my top. I'm not a huge fan of Tangled, but I do like it. Tangled was a really good movie, done very well. I love the characters in it. But it's definitely not in my top 5, probably my top 10. Movies like The Emperor's New Groove. I love The Emperor's New Groove. It's such a funny movie, and the cast in it is so wonderful. But yeah, movies like that, I would definitely put Zootopia with my top 5. Yeah, I definitely would put it up there. So,
and it's definitely a movie I'd see again.
Definitely.
And again.
Yes, and again.
Yes.
And I can't wait for it to come out on Blu-ray, because I will be buying the Blu-ray, and I will be, pausing it and seeing what there's one poster that they kept showing throughout the movie. I have to pause it and see what it says. I've already picked it out. That's the one I'm going to find, and I'm going to just read it. I kind of hope that, and again, this comes from my pod friends at Skywalking Through Neverland. I kind of hope that there is a setting on there that turns your TV into a window to Zootopia, because I would absolutely love to have that, just have this, like, you just pick a habitat and just let your TV just kind of sit there with it just constantly going, like the virtual fireplaces, and Finding Nemo, when you had the aquarium, you turn your TV into a little aquarium and have the characters kind of swimming by. I would love it if they would have that on there. So Disney, if you're listening, you can have that for free. You don't have to pay me. So you already do pay me, but you can have that for free. So, but I would love it, if they would have that, because I would kind of like to just see these areas and see what it would look like to kind of just sit there and kind of look out into the city and see all these different places, maybe at night. And turning it dark and during the day and during the afternoon, stuff like that. So I can't wait for the DVD. Now, what would you rate this movie? I don't know. Not rate. Hold on. Let me rephrase this. Would you recommend this movie to friends?
Yes, adult and my little friends.
What if they didn't like cartoons?
People don't like cartoons.
Believe it or not, people don't like cartoons because apparently cartoons are for children.
Really?
Yes. Yes, this is a thing.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so what if they didn't like cartoons? What would you say?
Oh, you've got to see it. I'm going to say I feel very sorry for you that you don't like cartoons.
Right, I do.
I might have to be a little bit prejudiced against them.
You can't be prejudiced against them.
I can't be prejudiced against them. I just got to bring them to the light.
Right.
I'm going to bring them to the light.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you would recommend this to anybody?
I would recommend.
Okay.
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. All right. So would you watch this in theaters again?
Will I watch it in the theater again? Yes, I would.
Okay. All right. Would you buy it on DVD?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome.
You can buy it for me.
Oh, for your next birthday, I'll buy it for you. Awesome.
Just like you bought me the peanuts.
Yeah, just
for
like
me.
the peanuts.
For me.
Yeah, specifically for you.
Mom, I
That's
got the
right.
Peanuts movie for
and
you.
it wasn't
so
one of those.
We can watch it.
It wasn't one of those presents that I bought because I wanted to get. Because if it was, I'd be like, I would have bought the Blu-ray version and kept the Bluray and give you the DVD.
That's
so I can't. I bought
Thank
the DVD.
You, I appreciate it, and I'm very excited about it.
And I can't wait until that comes out on DVD because I know for a fact you're probably going to bring that to your school kids.
Oh, yes.
And
well, I'm going to play the Peanuts one.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And I would love it if you did bring Zootopia and then you made those little Paw Pops and just bring all the kids the Paw Pops.
Wouldn't that be the funnest thing?
That would be the funnest thing.
I think,
which I kind of, like, when I saw that movie, that's the one thing I was like, I wonder how those taste.
Yeah.
I mean, they're for jumbo size.
Comment about Disney having.
Yeah, Disney
Pop-Pops.
should totally have those. Why don't they sell those? Disney, what are you doing, man? I would buy a Pop Pop.
Big idea here. Do they still have the big idea?
Huh?
Do they still have the big idea?
I'm sure they probably have something like that. I would sell them at Animal Kingdom. I would.
Yes.
And if they had a ghetto sign with a little cooler and just ice around it, would make it even better. So yeah, I would definitely do that. All right. So now, first of all, before we end the podcast, because we got to do our usual how you find us thing. First of all, I would love to thank my UberMom for joining me here today. Thank you, Mom, for coming.
Well, you are welcome. I enjoyed it.
Good.
Very, very much.
Good, I'm glad. And I want to thank you guys out there for listening. And if you would like to join in this conversation, if you would like to give us your review of Zootopia or the Peanuts movie, please write us back. Write us a review. We're a part of the Arcade Archives Network, and you can find us on thearcadearchives.com. You can find us on there. This is where this podcast is. If you're not listening to us on the website itself, if you want to reply to us, you can actually reply on the post. There's a place for replies. Just look up on the top left, the top right of the posts. You can see it there. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/arcade81, or you can follow me directly at facebook.com/Tales from the Game Grid. You can also follow us on Twitter at Arcade A Network. Again, that's at Arcade A Network. Or you can follow me at Tales FT Game Grid. Again, that's at Tales FT Game Grid. You can also follow us on Instagram, the Arcade Archives Network. You can find us on Instagram. We try to post every day. So please make sure to follow us on that. And if you want to reply on that, we will definitely answer it. And whenever you reply, that's fine. We will read it on the podcast once I get a reply. Thank you very much. Also, don't forget, also on the arcadearchives.com, I have a monthly webcomic called Tales from the Game Grid. And you can check that out every month. It is a monthly webcomic. And I'm very excited for April's comic. I think people are going to love it. It's a return of a very popular character that was in the comic before, so I'm hoping that it's very popular again with people like before. So thank you so much again for listening to Cartoon Connoisseur Theater Podcast, and thank you again, UberMom, for joining me, and thank you all again. And don't forget iTunes. If you're on iTunes, please make sure you subscribe to this feed and also leave a comment. Make sure you give us as many stars as you feel that we're worth. And please be honest. But if you'd like to give us 5 stars, it would be greatly appreciated. And it'll make people find us easier too. So thank you so much. See you again next month, everyone. And best wishes to everyone.
Thank you for joining us for this Arcade Archives Network video. If you like this, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and leave comments below. If you would like more, please go to thearcadearchives.com or zowie.com. Thank you so much once again for joining us for this Arcade Archives Network video, and don't forget to keep playing like it's 1981.
Message from headquarters. This is a Rebellion production and is part of the Arcade Archives Network. That is all.